Hi there, welcome back. My name is Casey and I am going to be doing an iris reading for you today. And we're going to be starting with the left iris. So right away, I'm seeing that this person has quite a strong constitution, vital genetic heritage, and you can see that in the trabecula or the iris fibers. They are very straight and very finely woven. There also are not a lot of lacuna or large openings within the iris fibers. So that is indicating that this person has been blessed with a strong constitution. Okay, so there are a few features in this eye that got my attention right away. I want to talk about those first before we go into mapping the iris. So the first thing I noticed was this golden hue in the iris. And, you know, it can be specific to certain lighting conditions. When you see different colors showing up in your photograph, absolutely, it can be related to the type of flashlight you use or, you know, all the different scenarios of what was going on when you took the picture. But I have seen a few different photos of these same eyes, and I'm confident that this golden color is related to lymphatic stagnation. So when you have lymphatic stagnation, it starts out in the acute phases as more of a bright white, and then it starts to turn more yellowish, sort of a light yellow, and then dark yellow, and then golden, and then light brown, and then into the darker browns as it progresses. So I would say that this is in the subacute level of lymphatic stagnation. So that will be one thing that this person will be addressing in her detox protocol. Okay, and then the other thing that caught my eye right away was this pretty prominent scurf ring or skin ring. And that is this kind of grayish, bluish color surrounding the entire periphery of the iris, so all the way around, and it's a pretty thick skin ring, so it goes in deeper into the tissues than a lot of skin rings you see will be just on the very outer edge. So we're going to be looking at the health of the skin and how we can address that directly, and what the source or causes may be also. So right away, a few things that you can do to help the health of your skin is you can do some skin brushing. You can do that with a dry brush. I recommend you get a softer variety. I know they come in all sorts of bristle strength. I prefer the softer, on the softer side of dry brushing or dry brushes. As well, you could buy a loofah and use that. So you're just making sure that you use it on dry skin and not wet skin. And that's going to exfoliate your skin and bring more oxygen, get the cell turnover rate going, and just overall revitalize the entire integumentary system. Okay, so skin brushing. And then you're also looking at what your skin comes into contact with. So you want to take inventory, if you haven't already, of anything that's coming into contact with your skin. And that can even be airborne stuff that you may be exposed to in your environment. So obviously you're going to be looking at soaps, lotions, body washes, especially colognes, perfumes. So when we're talking about the health of the skin, and we're looking at the different molecular weight of the substance, that is certainly related to what the skin can absorb. So when you have a really low molecular weight, as is found in chemicals. So especially scents. They have a very small molecular structure, so they are absorbed quite readily through the skin into the bloodstream. So you want to, like I said, if you haven't already, just take stock of what you're putting on your skin and remove anything from your routine that isn't 100% natural. And you may have to do some research on different chemicals, preservatives. Absolutely, when you see anything that just says scent and it's not a natural essential oil, you want to leave that out of your personal care routine. Okay, and then another thing you can do is just take a look at depending, on what's feasible in terms of your climate and environment, you want to be avoiding unnatural fibers, and especially those that are tightly fitted. So you want to be going for the more natural fibers, such as cotton, linen, and you want to have as much of your skin exposed as possible to the air. Again, that's going to be dependent on, where you live and what season it is and all that. So, but optimally, you're wearing more loosely fitted fibers and you're letting your skin breathe as much as possible. Okay, and then another factor with the skin is, so the skin is thought of as the third kidney. And what that implies is that a lot of the cellular waste that the kidneys are not able to remove, depending on the health of the kidneys, gets thrown to the skin in hopes that it will be removed in that way. So sweating is the primary way that you're able to release these toxins. So you're going to want to put yourself in environments where you're able to sweat. And that would include saunas, steam rooms, and exercising in a way that builds up a sweat. Of course, being in a more humid, warm climate will help you with that. So when you see a skin ring, a lot of times there's going to be challenges with that person's ability to sweat, and that's going to be related to the thyroid. So anytime you see a skin ring, you're going to be following the recommendations that I just made in terms of addressing the skin directly. And then you're also going to be looking at the health of the thyroid, because the thyroid controls the body's metabolism and the overall temperature of the body. So the thyroid is the gland that is linked to the ability to sweat, really. So let's go ahead and take a look. We'll start to get into some more specific iris mapping, and I want to look first at the thyroid. So you can see from the little chart here on the right that this whole section, the thyroid, the parathyroid is in here, the vocal cords are in here, the whole entire throat chakra, also known as Vishuddha, which is responsible for speaking your truth, creativity, being able to express verbally what is coming to you in terms of inspiration. So that is more of an energetic perspective on this whole entire area. And we're going to just look over here, and that area is related to the color blue. So we're going to look at this whole area. You can see this little tiny dark section in here is showing us that this is an area that is showing a chronic condition, and that is the parathyroid itself. So the parathyroid's coming up right away. And then this whole section, that includes vocal cords and thyroid itself, is showing possible challenges and those could be very likely genetically passed to you. And you can check out the health of your thyroid quite simply by using the basal thermometer testing. And you can find information on that. I have it on my website. You can search it on the internet, but essentially you're going to be taking the temperature of your body through underneath the arm, and optimally you're going to be doing this in the morning before you get going, because often, as we get going throughout our day, our temperature can increase. So before you really get started in the morning, you use a thermometer, and ideally you do a number of days in a row, so it's a constant number. And if it is below the average temperature, then you're looking at a hypothyroid, and if it is above, you're looking at a hyperthyroid. So that's one of the best ways to check the health of your thyroid, because unless you're having like a complete blood panel done, a lot of times blood work is just going to show you the thyroid stimulating hormone as the health of the thyroid. And the thyroid stimulating hormone is actually produced by the pituitary gland. So there's a lot more going on with the thyroid than just that one hormone. Okay, so speaking of the pituitary gland, so we're sort of following the clues as we go along through this iris, and the skin ring led us to the thyroid, and the thyroid is going to lead us to the pituitary. So let's take a look at the pituitary itself. And this area right in here, this whole section is the pituitary. Pineal is in here also. I'm seeing more pituitary than pineal gland in this eye. And the pituitary as the master gland is going to be the gland, if it's down, it's in this area right in here. And because there is a radii solaris, or this dark line going right through it and one right next to it, I would say that there could absolutely be challenges with the pituitary gland. So if your pituitary gland is down, you might want to address that first and foremost. You might want to address the pituitary and see if that improves the health of the thyroid, and see if that improves the health of the skin. And in terms of herbs, so I'm going to be making some reference to Dr. Morse herbals. And if anybody has any questions on, I don't want to take Dr. Morse, I can't get it in my country, it's too expensive, whatever, definitely feel free to email me. But I think he has a great lineup, and he does have a pituitary gland herbal support formula, and I have found that to be very effective. He also has a thyroid support formula, and that's herbal as well. And he also has an all-encompassing endocrine gland formula. And I would recommend that you could cycle through these formulas. You might want to start with the endocrine balance, and then go to the pituitary, and then go to the thyroid. Whatever really speaks to you. A lot of these formulas in terms of the endocrine system, so all three that I just mentioned, have pretty similar and complementary ingredients. And I would recommend that you take those in a tincture form. So certain of his products I like to take in capsules, and certain I like to take, or I recommend other people to take in tincture form, depending on your personal preference. Of course, that always comes into play. So a little bit going on in the thyroid, a little bit going on in the pituitary. And while we're here, this whole entire area, this section here, is the head and brain area. And this area in here, just directly surrounding the pupil, is the stomach and the bowels. And the stomach and bowels, after the golden color and after the skin ring, I would say that would be the thing that was standing out to me the most in these eyes. So there are quite a number of radii solaris in the stomach and bowels. So you can see these little lines. They originate in the stomach area, and they are essentially separations in the upper iris, the more surface layers of the trabecula or the iris fibers. So this one's pretty pronounced. The darker the radii solaris are, the deeper they go, and the more chronic they are. When they're absolutely like dark, even getting into the dark brown and black color, they would be more considered in the degenerative stages. So these are still brown, and so you're going to be taking these areas that they represent, and we'll go over that into consideration. But the source, as you can see, of these radii solaris is the stomach and bowel area. So the stomach and bowels do look a bit challenged to me. I would be addressing that right along with the lymphatic system once you get into a detox protocol, along with the endocrine system. And you're always going to be taking a kidney formula to, even though, and we'll get to the kidney in just a second or a minute, the kidneys actually look not bad at all. So kidneys, a little inflammation, especially in the adrenal, but I'm not seeing any inherent weaknesses in the kidney area. But if you have this much lymphatic congestion and this level of skin ring, you can be fairly certain that your kidneys are not filtering optimally. Okay, so stomach and bowels, lymphatic, endocrine system, and kidneys. And those four formulas are the four formulas that are considered, that are in the Fab Four. So that's a set of 4 formulas that the Dr. Morse clinic recommends people take when they're starting their detox journey, and it basically covers all the bases. So that's what we've touched on so far, and I would recommend that would be a nice course of action. All right, so back to the radii solaris. There are a number of them. It looks to me like the health of the digestive system is somewhat compromised. And when you see this many radii solaris, although I have to say there are a lot of them, but they don't extend. They sort of stop. Most of them sort of stop right at the edge of the bowel wall. So the toxins in the digestive system are plenty, but they're not being circulated to the entire body. They are being circulated in certain areas. So we'll stay focused up in the head and brain area because that's where they're being distributed the most, and that's actually really common. So you're going to see this area right here is the transverse colon, and you're going to see that the radii solaris from the transverse colon are affecting the brain and the head and the neck and the face and all that. Okay, so let's get into that. I would say this one is probably one of the more prominent areas. And that is actually specifically on my software, it's coming up as forehead It can also be the temples. It's very close to the eye. So we are looking, like I said, this is the left eye, so anything, the left eye would be reflective of the left side of the body. So that would be forehead, temple, and like I said, it's close to the eye itself. And then the next little line or radii solaris we have is right here. And that would be the acquired mental speech, listening, learning, and speaking. So this is somewhat connected to the throat chakra, at least on an emotional or energetic level in terms of how well we are able to communicate. This brain zone contains both the pineal and the pituitary glands, the cerebrum, the hypothalamus, and is essentially an area that is involved in brain communication, speech, listening, visual learning, memory, language, as well the organization of thoughts into words and sentences affects the way we perceive, understand, and organize our experience. Okay, so that's that brain zone. And then the one right next to it, this one right here, that goes absolutely right through the pituitary gland. Oops. Is the five senses, and let me just double check this. It's really close to the ego and perfectionism zone as well, the self-stress zone. So I'm going to talk about both of those. So the five senses are just what that sounds like. It is the five senses. The ego pressure is more involved in perfectionism. It has a lot to do with blood pressure. It regulates decision making, psychological stress reactions, our achievement of ideals and goals, and how we pressure ourselves about them. So like I said, that line is going pretty much right through that ego pressure as well. It's really close to the five senses area. So what does that mean when I say the line is going through the area? Well, if you have a radii solaris going through a brain zone area, that can indicate a challenge with the qualities associated with that center. Okay, and I do have the descriptions. I have a pretty lengthy description on the different brain zones on my website. So you can check that out if you want to learn more about the brain zones. We're going to go on to the next one, and that is right in here. And that is the genetic intelligence zone, also known as the inherent mental zone. And this area is opposite the adrenal gland. So a lot of times there's going to be a correlation between this area and the adrenal. That would be the left adrenal gland. So you're going to check both of those areas. And like I said, it's pretty healthy in the kidney and adrenal, but there is some inflammation in there. So the inherent mental involves, it's involved in anxiety. It contains the midbrain, emotional, and limbic systems of the cerebrum, as well as memory associations. So high level keywords, high level expression keywords would be love, aspiration, altruism, creativity, healthy habits, willpower, sentimentality, memory. So that would be the inherent mental, also known as the anxiety zone. And then the next zone is balance and dizziness. That one's pretty straightforward. So you do have a small radii solaris going through the balance and dizziness center. That could indicate possible challenges with just that, balance and dizziness. So let's see what else we see. This area in here is the mastoid. So sort of the back of the head in this area in here. So mastoid. And then this area stood out to me quite a bit. There's some inflammation surrounding this little dark patch. And this is the neck. So the neck, and that would be specifically related to the left side of the neck. Looks like there could be something that was genetically passed, some stress, some tension, some strain going on in that neck area. So that would be here, and then all of that is the neck. Okay, and so now we're getting into, on the left side we find the heart. So we're going to be getting into the health of the lungs and the heart, and it looks pretty good. There is a slight, you can see this area right in here, just a slight portion that's very close to the heart area. Again, I mean, it is minor, so there could be some minor history, family history of challenges with heart health, but overall I'm seeing that as a pretty healthy area. I think I could do a better heart. A little bit better. Okay, so that's the heart area. It looks good. The lungs look pretty good, actually. And this section here is calling to me a little bit. The ovary is right in here, so that would be the left ovary. Could, you know, the pelvis, ovary, could have been some challenges in that area. And this whole area right here. Okay. And then this radii solaris is right at 6 o'clock, and 6 o'clock is, as you can see from the chart over here, the thigh, knee, and foot. So depending on how far, so it doesn't extend all the way down, I would say there could be some challenges with the upper leg or the thigh on the left side. If not, it could be, you know, something that you would be taking care of, this area, because it's not a large radii solaris, it's not a big lacuna or anything, but it is originating from the health of the bowels. So that would be thigh. And now let's take a look at the kidney and adrenal. So this whole section in here is kidney and adrenal. This would be the adrenal. It does look, like I said, a little bit of inflammation in that area, possibly some congestion. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's a lot of lymphatic congestion, so that's systemic. It's throughout the entire body, so I'm guessing that is affecting the kidney and adrenal as well. Okay. this is a really minor little spot, but a lot of times these psoriasis spots get people's attention when they're looking at their own eyes. So I just want to point it out. This is the back area. So there could be some focus on the back. It could be a history, especially because we have the neck as well. There could be something going on in the spine. But yeah, that's the area of the back, in case this little spot is catching your eye and you're wondering. It looks like more low back. Okay, I think we are pretty good with the left eye. I feel like I addressed pretty much everything I saw. There's one thing right in here. You see this glistening shimmer, and this could quite possibly be a sign of high cholesterol. So I'm not sure if you've had that tested, but it could definitely be high cholesterol. That's how it shows up, as this sort of shimmer, and often it will show up towards the bottom of the iris or towards the top of the iris first, and it's kind of on this corner edge. That could just be the photo, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is high cholesterol. And I've done a video on high cholesterol, but essentially high cholesterol is directly related to inflammation in the body, as cholesterol is one of the major ways the body cools things down. Cholesterol, water, and calcium. Okay, so I think that's good for now, and I'm going to stop the video, and I'm going to move on to the right eye. Okay, see you soon.